Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for clicking on this video. Before we begin, I would like to give a shout out to the latest members who are Jennifer Stabler, Sime Time, and Jade Taylor 614. Thank you all for deciding to support my channel. I really do appreciate it. Okay, today's topic is a follow-on from the one I did where I went through how narcissists choose their targets. This video will be focusing on what would make them keep that target for long periods of time or even for the rest of their lives. Today I will attempt to answer the question, and if you watched the other video I did, you will realize that some of those reasons still apply, meaning some of the same reasons why a narcissist chose to target someone would be the same reasons why they decide to keep them. In this episode, I will not be focusing on the narcissistic supply aspect, as that is something I have addressed many times, because without narcissistic supply, the narcissist will not even hang around for another minute. Narcissistic supply is the fuel that keeps them going. They get it in the form of attention, praise, love, etc., but also includes the rise they get from controlling and hurting others. For more on the different forms of narcissistic supply, please see this video. Basically, the amount of narcissistic supply the narcissist gets is a crucial factor in staying with someone. And also attached to narcissistic supply would be the possible connections, money, or other resources the narcissist can get. But by the end of this video, you will realize there are other factors that can stand in the way of the supply and resources. And these are the deciding factors that can make a narcissist let go or keep a target. But what I am also hoping is that more people realize that they cannot or should not leave it to a narcissist to leave you alone or move on. You cannot put the onus on the narcissist to end a relationship completely, because they never really do. All they do is put people on pause until they are ready for them again. So we have to be the ones to take the necessary steps to not only end these narcissistic relationships, but also prevent them from happening again. I have a playlist dedicated to ending narcissistic relationships, which I will make available via a link at the end of this video and in the description box below. Now let's look at one of the first deciding factors for a narcissist to keep someone around, and it is that person's lack of limits or boundaries. If the target remains someone who the narcissist can easily continue to take advantage of and easily get what they want when they want it, they will not be going anywhere. Narcissists are users, and if someone doesn't know how to refuse the narcissist or tell them no, then that person is someone the narcissist will not want to lose. The second factor would be dependency. How dependent are you on the narcissist? Narcissists love to isolate people and make them dependent on them any way they can to ensure that they are needed. Financial dependency is very common, but also many people, once isolated, end up becoming emotionally dependent on the narcissist. And if someone is dependent on the narcissist, then it is very unlikely that they would want to discard the narcissist. That is why narcissists seek to weaken our emotional and mental strength. This is why they seek to confuse us and gaslight us in order to make us question our own sanity. Because if they can convince us that something is wrong with us and we need them to help us or depend on them for making the right decisions, then the narcissist knows they have broken us and can keep manipulating us to their advantage. If they know we have no one else to turn to for emotional support, the more control the narcissist has. The third factor would be how hooked or deceived that person still is. Meaning, despite after months or years of emotional and even physical abuse, that person still thinks the narcissist is the best thing that has happened to them, or that person still believes the narcissist must love them. That person may be refusing to accept that the narcissist is no good, or they are still too blind to realize that the narcissist is just using them, or that person believes that the person they fell in love with still exists. Basically, that person is still emotionally invested in the narcissist. And if the narcissist can keep that dream alive, that there is hope or a future being with that person they once were to you, then the narcissist knows they can keep running their game on you. I think the best way to summarize these three factors is that the narcissist wants freedom. The freedom to go and come as they please, the freedom to get and do what they want, when they want. They want their space to not be questioned or challenged about their actions or decisions. They want to be able to control you and abuse you, but still have your love. But also, with the three factors I have gone through, you can see why narcissistic supply is not all there is to it. Because even if someone is a good source of narcissistic supply and has resources or connections that the narcissist would like, if that person develops strong, healthy boundaries and have no issues telling the narcissist no or calling them out on their crap, they become an undesired challenge for the narcissist. And if that person manages to keep or regain their independency and are not dependent on the narcissist for anything, that further weakens the narcissist's control. And finally, if the target no longer views the narcissist through rose-tinted glasses, again, the narcissist knows that their game is up. Because as the emotional ties are broken, the narcissist will realize that the narcissistic supply that person provided is a lot more difficult to access. So it is important to the narcissist that the targets they keep are fairly easy to manage or control. This would allow them to reserve some of their energy for their fresher sources of supply. Because as great a source of supply as that target can be, if there are too many obstacles in place or the emotional investment is lost, that can turn a narcissist off, at least for some time. This is why limiting contact or going no contact is essential, because the narcissist will seek to create a new strategy or plan when they are ready to target you again. But to conclude, choosing and keeping a target for a narcissist requires certain specific criteria to be met. And as I always say, the narcissist feels it should be their decision what relationships they keep and those they don't. This is why when we flip the script and discard them as a result of waking up to the truth of what they are, it catches them off guard and severely bruises their ego. And finally, if you do come across a narcissist who has managed to keep someone for some time, it is not because they all of a sudden learned how to love and cherish anyone. It just means more times than not that that person is easier to manipulate and control, meaning there is a lack of boundaries, some form of dependency, or false hope. And this can all be down to a lack of knowledge on their part, cognitive dissonance, and more. But that's a whole other video. which I have covered already here. But that's it for today. Many thanks for listening.